This interview is with Jimmy Gebert. Jimmy's been a farmer and fertilizer dealer and done a lot of different things in Whitley County for the last few years. So we're going to let Jimmy tell us about some of his life history and some of the things he's done. So Jimmy, we'll turn it over to you.
Well, I was born in 28, raised on a farm, of course, and my dad had got a thrash machine and a Titan oil pull before he was married, somewhere around 1922. And so we've always had tractors, and but we had horses up till probably 38. We probably got rid of the last of the horses because we bought an F-14 to plow corn with, or cultivate corn with. And he had a 1530, a 1540, the 1540, not a 1540, W40, had a truck engine in, Internationals, and I drove that some, but not too much because I was fairly young yet then. And in 1940, got a rubber tire tractor when it come out, I got an M, and got a mounted corn planter, so that was about the last thing we used the horses for, was plant corn. And so after that, we didn't need the horses anymore. But earlier, probably one time I was about 10 or 12, I drove the horses on the loading hay. I'd stand with the standards in front and with the hay loader. So I have driven horses quite a little bit. We had same team all the time I was growing up. One team, we had 3 teams, but the one we had all the time, and I could ride them. They were tame and stuff. But my dad had a thrash machine, a clover seed hauler, hay baler, corn sheller, silo filler. He had all that stuff and done a lot of custom work. He always had a hired man until during the war when they took the last one away. Why, I was old enough then I could drive tractors and stuff and started farming. My family moved over here around the 1850s from Switzerland and moved into Whitley County in 1902. And my granddad couldn't read or write, but he figured if he didn't make enough money to buy an 80-acre farm every year, he wasn't making money. And he had 11 kids, and he gave them all an 80-acre farm when they got married. Oh. I was raised on a farm. We had a little over 200 acres, and but quite a bit of it was pasture. We had cattle, stuff, and we had cattle until probably in the mid-50s, and I started in excavating in the early 50s, and my dad finally sold the livestock, this grain farm down. He died of leukemia in 59, and I went back to farming then, get rid of my excavating equipment and stuff. Farmed for about 3 years, and he was on the Farm Bureau board and also the Larval Feed Mill board, and they put me on that, and they were losing money, so they wanted me to manage that, so I managed that for a year. Got back in the black. I wanted them to put in fertilizer storage and stuff. They wouldn't do it, so I started mowing. So I had it for 25 years, and it's still there. I sold it to Frick when I retired because I got remarried, and my wife was a minister now, and she lived at Cedar Lake at the time up by Crown Point, so it was a 110-mile drive back and forth. So I finally moved. I kept a house there for a year, and then I finally moved up there because I was on 11 boards, and driving back and forth to board meetings and stuff just wasn't worth it. So I get kind of sick anyway, people. But that's my My dad got a new thrash machine in 1940 when he got the M. The M cost $750 back then, and I don't know what the thrash machine cost. He thrashed until 1960. Yeah, no, 1950. 1950, because we bought a combine in about 47, and I ran it and done some custom work stuff. What it was a 22-inch thrash machine with a 8-foot platform binder head on it. You had to fold it up every time you got to the gates and stuff. And it had a motor on it. So after that, we done combining too. And what else I can tell you about?
Going to school. Where did you?
School.
Went to school.
School at Larwell, and Troy Center brought their kids down to Larwell too. I mean, they're high school kids. When in high school, we had both of them. There's only about 100 and some in high school. My class had 24. Oh.
Were you ever in a one-room school?
No, my cousin was the same age as I am. He's in Columbia Township here. Had a one-room school out towards where out kind of southwest of town. He went to one-room school. When I was in high school, Etna still had a one-room school, high school and all. And they only had 6 boys to play basketball. So
it took about the whole school to do a basketball team, didn't it?
Wasn't too hard to beat them.
Yeah.
Well, my first farm, not first farm I bought, my neighbors, after I was out of school and stuff, was selling their farm for $8,000, 80 acres, had built it, all the buildings on and everything. I thought that was too much money, so they sold it. And the next guy bought it, he had it 4 or 5 years. He wanted $12,000. I still thought it was too much money. And next time it's over $15,000, and I bought it probably 10 years later. I paid $40,000. And I bought 2 more about that same time, and I only paid $25,000 and $28,000 for them with the buildings and everything. And later I sold the buildings all 3 of them farms. And I live on one of them now.
First automobile. You remember first automobile you bought, and how much was it?
Well, when I got out of school in 46, you couldn't buy new automobiles then. And my dad, I didn't have a car when I got married. I drove the pickup all the time. We had a 39 Chevy pickup and 29 Chevy ton-and-a-half truck. And my folks that time they had a Pontiac they'd bought before the war. But before that, they had the Essex, and they had 2 Essex before that, back in the early 30s. My grandfather died when he was 72, and when they had his sale, my dad bought the car. He never drove himself. He never had a driver's license. He always had a hired man, and he drove. My grandmother took care of all the finance and stuff, because like I said, he couldn't read or write.
How much did you pay for that first pickup that you had when you got married? Remember how much you paid for that pickup?
Well, that was my dad's.
Oh, okay. So you did
The first car I bought was $350.
$350. Okay.
That was huge. Next one I bought was, I think, $1,100. I bought the first new car I bought in 1949 was $1,700, Plymouth.
What kind of car was that?
Plymouth?
Plymouth.
Oh.
When you had indoor plumbing, did you always have indoor plumbing, or do you remember when you got your first
Well,
inside bathroom?
My uncle worked in construction, and he lived with us part-time, worked out there because this is during Depression, and they put a septic tank in probably in about 37 or 8, somewhere along there. We always had running water in the house because we had a windmill. We had a tank up above in the bathroom, and that gravity fed down to the kitchen and stuff. Was right next to the kitchen. And for soft water, we had half our house was a 2-story house, and the other half was a story house. It had a big attic, and there was a horse tank in the attic, and the water off the 1-story house ran into that tank, and then an overflow went out through the roof. But that ran into a tank down behind the stove. Tank stood probably 6-7 feet tall, and the water went through the boiler in the stove, and that's how they had hot water and soft water. We got our house wired in probably 35, but we couldn't get electricity because we were one pole too far from the last person. And so my dad bought a Delco plant and had storage batteries and stuff, and we didn't get electricity from the RMC until 39. For about 3 years we used the Delco plant.
Tell us a little bit about that Delco plant. A lot of people don't understand how that worked.
It was a generator on a gas motor, and it had, I don't know how many, because they sat on the bench there probably was 8-10 feet long. I don't know whether it's 2 deep or 1 deep, but that charged that batteries up all the time, and that's what give you electricity. We didn't have electric stove or anything like that then. And just lights and refrigerator we had.
So how did you connect? Did you have plug-ins, or how did you connect all the lights and the things you did use?
Well, no, it fed right into the regular box. They wired the house for the electricity, your regular fuse box. It plugged right in. I mean, they had plug-ins all over the house, so you just plugged it into the regular sockets. It was regular AC.
So, like when they came in and when they got the electric lines to you, so they really didn't have to do much changing in the wiring once they just run the wire to your fuse box then.
Yeah.
So you had a fuse box.
Yeah.
There was a fuse box back in those days, wasn't it? Instead of a panel, wasn't just had fuses you plugged in, or you remember what kind of fuse box you had?
No, I don't remember.
But you had to, everything is pretty well wired. You just had to change the connection.
Yeah, in order if it came in from the road wire, you just plugged in there.
Yeah.
I've still got the original refrigerator my mom bought 39. Yeah, about 39, yeah. And it still works. I used to store stuff out in the garage, books and pamphlets and stuff I need.
Things that you've seen in your lifetime had the biggest impact on life there in Whitley County?
Probably the amount of people. When I was county commissioner, we had, I think, a little over 20,000 people in Whitley County. And now it's, I don't know how many. I mean, it's a lot.
I think it's close to 40,000.
Yeah, I would say it was. And on my road, we live a half a mile off of 5 on 650 West. It runs, well, it starts at Larwell and then it goes on up, clear on up into Noble County. But the 3 mile between Old 30 and New 30, there's 17 houses, and you know, nobody in that road farms. It's all rented. I rent mine out, and My kids rent theirs out. And,
yeah. So what, the price of grain, you remember what some of the prices of grain, and then you're in the fertilizer business, how the prices of grain, how they fluctuate over the years? How's the price of fertilizer changed when you were in business?
well, the price of grain, most of the time I was farmer, was about $1 a bushel for corn. And earlier, we never sold grain. We sold hogs and cattle, fed it all. But $1 a bushel was about what we figure on getting, and we got about 60, 70 bushel to acre. Fertilizer, I don't remember what it was then, but when I had the farm supply, when I started in '64, potash was about, potash never went up much all the time I had it for 25 years. When I sold it in 25 years after that, it was $60 a ton. And now it's around $600 a ton. It's went up, fertilizers went up a lot more than anything else has, for some reason. Potash comes from Canada and New Mexico, and a lot of the others is imported from other countries. But phosphates come from Virginia and Florida. Excuse me.
What about nitrogen, anhydrous?
I don't know what anhydrous is now.
It's up over 900, I think, a ton.
Well, it was,
when you started in.
yeah, 120, I think, something like that.
Anything else you'd like to share with us before we close this interview?
Well, I'd probably think some when I get home. Like I said, my dad always had a hired man. We had one that, he was a little absent-minded, I guess. He was a young guy. We had a horse tank, twice the size of them tables there together. And he'd bring the horses out and water them before they went up the field, you know. Well, one time he brought the horses out and all he had on was the bridle and the collar, no harness. And we had a corn cultivator that had a saddle seat on, which you had to unhook one side, step inside, and hook it back up, and sit on it. Well, he didn't know that. He would get back and run, made a jump over the seat, let down between the shovels.
Did he hit the seat all right, or did he miss it?
Well, he did.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jimmy. Appreciate your time and
You're
sharing
welcome.
some of your life experiences with it. We certainly appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Okay.